A passenger jet takes off like any other flight. Routine, calm, ordinary. Then it stops talking. Not for a minute, not for 10 minutes. It disappears. And what makes MH370 terrifying isn't just that a plane vanished. It's that it vanished in the modern world with radar, satellites, and global tracking, leaving behind a timeline full of gaps, contradictions, and clues that still don't fit together. This is the case brief, and MH370 stays viral in the US and across the world because it's not one mystery. It's a chain of mysteries stitched together by timestamps, missing communication, and evidence that arrives out of order. And the timeline begins with what looks normal: a scheduled passenger flight, an ordinary departure, a routine climb, and then the first suspense beat. Communication changes and the flight drops out of the picture people expect. And here is the first detail to remember, because it shapes everything. In aviation, last contact isn't one single thing. It can mean different systems at different times. So the public often hears one moment while investigators track several. And that creates confusion that never fully disappeared. Then comes the next turning. Reported radar data and route interpretation that suggests the aircraft didn't simply vanish instantly. And if that's true, it raises the biggest question of all. What happened in the minutes after the last normal communication? Because those minutes are where a flight can change direction, change altitude, and change its entire story. And as search efforts begin, the world expects quick answers, but the ocean doesn't work on human timelines. And that's the next suspense line. You can lose something enormous at sea and still not find it, because size doesn't matter when the search area is endless and weather is brutal. As days turn into weeks, the investigation becomes a moving target. Search zones shift, theories rise, theories collapse, and every shift is driven by one thing: what can actually be confirmed? And this is where MH370 becomes uniquely addictive, because every time a theory sounds final, a new detail reopens it. Whether it's a change in assumed route, a new interpretation of satellite-related information as reported by investigators, or later discoveries of debris that confirm the plane ended up in the ocean, but don't automatically confirm how it got there. And remember this, because it's the heartbeat of the entire episode. Evidence can tell you where without telling you why, and where can still be huge. Meanwhile, public attention doesn't stay quiet. Families demand answers, media coverage accelerates, and online communities build their own investigations. And here comes the next suspense twist. The internet can surface patterns, but it can also amplify noise. So the case becomes a war between careful analysis and viral certainty. And that war is why even today people argue over the same core possibilities: mechanical failure, human action, intentional diversion, or a chain reaction of smaller issues. Because in an absence of final proof, human minds keep building narratives. As time passes, the timeline fragments into 3 layers. You must keep separate to understand the story. What was confirmed at the time, what was later revised or reinterpreted, and what remains speculation, and your attention stays locked when you watch those layers collide, because the most disturbing feeling in the case is that the truth seems close enough to touch but never fully solid, and each piece of debris found years later acts like a message from the past that answers one question and creates 2 new ones. Then the investigation enters its long phase, where the search becomes engineering and math, ocean currents, drift models, underwater mapping, remote vehicles, and careful grids. And here is another suspense line to hold viewers deep into a long episode. When a case lasts this long, the hardest part isn't discovering new clues. It's proving that the clue belongs to the story in the first place. Yet, MH370 remains viral because it lives at the intersection of modern technology and ancient uncertainty. Because even with satellites, even with radar, and even with global headlines, a plane can still slip into a gap that nobody can close. And in the final act of this episode, we'll lay out what is broadly considered confirmed, what remains disputed, and the top theory clusters, without pretending certainty exists where it doesn't, because the most responsible way to tell this story is also the most haunting. It ends not with an answer, but with a timeline that still asks the same question every year. How can something so large vanish, and why has the world still not found the final proof? MH370 remains one of the most unsettling modern mysteries because it proves a hard truth. Technology reduces uncertainty, but it doesn't eliminate it. A flight can still slip into darkness through geography, weather, and the limits of what we can confirm after the fact. And that's why this story stays viral worldwide. Each year, the timeline is reread, each new claim is tested, and the same unanswered question refuses to fade. Until the main wreckage is found and independently verified, the case will remain what it has been from the beginning, a global mystery defined not by what we know, but by what we still can't prove.